Are you ready to discover something that will completely shake everything you believe about death and about what happens to your soul at the exact moment of your funeral, especially if that funeral happens at Christmas time? Because what I am about to reveal now is not theory. It is not speculation. It is not cheap philosophy. It is something that the very tradition of the Iglesia and countless visions of saints and mystics, always under the gaze of Archangel Miguel, describe with a terrifying clarity. And in the next 13 minutes and 33 seconds, you will understand why a funeral, especially when it happens in this sacred time, when Sel seems to descend discreetly upon the earth, can define the eternal destiny of your soul even more intensely. Archangel Miguel is the one whom the Iglesia invokes as a defender in combat, protector in hours of darkness, guide of souls at the moment of judgment. And he is mysteriously linked to everything that happens to you in the passage from this life to eternity. What the Christian faith teaches us, under his gaze, about the instant of your funeral is absolutely terrifying. The soul sees, the soul feels, and the soul suffers in a way that almost no one imagines. And this spiritual experience becomes even more intense when the funeral happens at Christmas time, when Seo leans in a special way upon the earth and the mysteries of Deus seem to descend closer to us. If this doesn't make you rethink life, nothing else will. And when you understand this, when you truly comprehend what the Iglesia hints at and what so many spiritual testimonies suggest in the shadow of the mission of San Miguel, your life will never be the same, never again. Because the truth is this, at this exact moment, as you watch this video, you are completely unprepared for what you will face. And time is running out faster than you imagine. You are not ready to see what Miguel sees. But before continuing, I need you to do something for me right now. Go to the comments and write just one word, preparado. Write preparado if you truly believe that your soul is ready for what it will face at the moment of your death and at the instant of your funeral, whether it be on a simple weekday or, even more mysteriously, in the midst of Christmas time, when perhaps your last goodbyes happen before a presepio, lights, lit candles, and Christmas carols. Or write despreparado if you recognize with brutal honesty that you are not ready for what I am going to reveal in this video, nor to spiritually face what Archangel Miguel contemplates with utmost clarity at the moment a soul leaves the body. Do this now before continuing to watch, because what you are about to discover in the next few minutes will make you completely question that answer. Go there, write in the comments right now, preparado or despreparado. Remember, what you write here is not just a comment on a video. It is an answer you give before Deus, before the angels, before the one who, according to the faith of the Iglesia, cries out, "Who is like Deus?" and fights for your soul in the decisive instant. I want to see how many people have the courage to be honest with themselves. And then tell me, did you have the courage to admit the truth? I will be direct with you, because there is no time for circumlocution. Most people live as if death were something distant, as if it were a future problem that can be postponed indefinitely. But Archangel Miguel, the one to whom Deus entrusted the mission of defending souls at the moment of judgment, sees the naked and raw truth. He not only observes death, he is present at the instant the soul separates from the body and begins its passage to eternity. And what the Iglesia teaches about this moment is something that should make you tremble. Because what Miguel witnesses, and what so many souls have testified in visions of saints and mystics, is not a gentle, poetic, or silent moment. It is an explosive spiritual instant in which everything you always tried to hide from Deus, from others, and even from yourself comes to light with the most penetrating light that exists. What you will hear today can completely change the way you live every Natal from now on, and every funeral you will yet witness. Now let me guide you. Close your eyes for an instant. Imagine your own death. Do not flee from this thought. Face it head on. Your body is there, immobile, cold, silent. And then imagine that all this happens at Christmas time, when houses still keep decorations, when lights flicker over the streets, when presapios are still set up, when the smell of supper and party memories still linger in the air. Perhaps your body is being waked in a decorated church with guirlandas, Advent wreaths, lit candles, and illuminated tree in the background. Perhaps you can hear, very distantly, the echo of a choir singing Silent Night while your family tries to hold back tears. The world celebrates the birth of Cristo while your family mourns your departure. But all this, everything human eyes see, is just the surface. Because, according to what faith teaches, under the vigilant gaze of San Miguel, at the exact instant of your funeral, something absolutely extraordinary and infinitely more decisive is happening on the spiritual plane. While people approach your coffin, while they shake hands, offer condolences, lay flowers, your soul is awake. And it is conscious, conscious as it has never been before. Nothing more distracts. Nothing more confuses, nothing more numbs. The soul sees, the soul feels, the soul knows. And Archangel Miguel, who appears exactly at this decisive moment as defender and witness, contemplates this soul with sword unsheathed, because now begins the battle that will determine its eternal destiny. The instant of the funeral is a battlefield, literally, spiritually, and almost no one prepares for it. But before entering the battle, you need to understand the first thing that happens at the instant of death. The soul sees itself for the first time. Not your idealized version, not the image you projected to the world, not the character you wore for years. It sees who you really are. And this revelation, according to the spiritual tradition linked to the mission of San Miguel, is devastating for many souls. Miguel is the Archangel of judgment, of truth, of the light that cuts through darkness. Where he appears, there are no masks. Now imagine this happening while your body is being waked, while candles flicker, while the presepio is set up, while the Natal liturgy still resonates through the church corridors. The contrast is brutal, the joy of the incarnation and the terror of the final revelation. Meanwhile, your soul observes, and it sees everything. It sees the people who loved you. It sees those who suffered because of you. It sees those you hurt and never asked for forgiveness. And each of these visions is like a blade, not because Deus is punishing you, but because now, without filters, without distractions, you see the whole truth, as it always was. You are not ready to bear this clarity, but it will come anyway. And alongside this revelation, something even deeper begins to happen. Archangel Miguel positions himself before you, not figuratively, not as a poetic symbol, but as the Iglesia has described him for centuries, the prince of the celestial army, the protector of souls, the warrior who fights for your eternal destiny. It is under his gaze that everything you did, everything, begins to reveal itself. And as this happens, your family cries near your body. Perhaps someone holds your cold hand. Perhaps they sing softly. Perhaps they embrace before the presepio. But you are no longer there. You are seeing everything from the outside. And then arises the question that almost no one dares to ask. What does the soul feel when seeing its own funeral? What hurts? What consoles? What judges? And why, according to so many mystical testimonies linked to Archangel Miguel, do this pain and this vision become even more intense at Natal? The first thing you need to understand, and that almost no one knows or accepts, is that the soul does not fall asleep at the moment of death. It does not turn off, does not shut down, does not enter a kind of comfortable sleep. This is human illusion. The truth, in light of the mission of Archangel Miguel, is this: the soul awakens, and it awakens with a consciousness it has never experienced before. Imagine living an entire life hearing the world distract you with noise, screens, anxiety, vanity, work, ambition, and then in a single instant all that disappears. All noise ceases. All distraction dissolves. All masks fall. And in this absolute silence, the soul sees, with the most painful clarity possible, who it really is. This is the first pain, existential pain. The soul perceives, brutally, that it wasted years of life on things that now are worth absolutely nothing. The soul sees the time thrown away. It sees lost opportunities. It sees every small deviation that moved it away from Deus. It sees the people it hurt. It sees the choices it should never have made. If this doesn't make you take every second seriously, it's because your heart is more anesthetized than you imagine. And Miguel is there, not to accuse, but to witness. He is the Archangel of truth. Where he is, there is no self-deception. And while this revelation happens, something even deeper unfolds before the soul. It sees its body. It sees its own body, cold, immobile, inert, lying inside a coffin. It sees relatives trying to hold back tears. It sees friends embracing their family members. It sees empty gazes, guilty gazes, the sincere gazes. But it cannot touch anyone. It cannot speak to anyone. It cannot ask for forgiveness. It cannot console those who suffer. And this is the second pain, emotional pain. The soul feels every tear shed for it, but it also feels every tear it caused. It perceives with overwhelming clarity whom it truly loved, whom it should have loved more, whom it ignored, whom it hurt and did not. And this consciousness weighs like a mountain. Now imagine all this happening while the church is decorated for Natal, while the Presepio rests a few meters from your body, while the image of the Menino Deus observes, silently, the one who now stands before Cell. The contrast is devastating. The celebration of life before the revelation of eternity. But the deepest pain of all is yet to come, spiritual pain. Because at the instant the soul separates from the body, the text is something that most people have never heard, but that the Iglesia teaches clearly. The particular judgment begins immediately. It is not symbolic. It is not psychological. It is not metaphorical. It is real. And this is where Arcángel Miguel assumes his most solemn and terrible mission. The Iglesia has invoked him for centuries as defender on the day of judgment, the one who weighs souls, the one who presents before Deus the works of men, the one who fights for the soul against the demons that accuse it. And that is exactly what happens now. While your body is being waked, perhaps with Natal lights in the background, perhaps with candles flickering before the altar, your soul is before absolute truth. There is no dialogue. There is no debate. There is no justification. The soul sees its entire life as a single panorama. Every choice, every intention, every lie, every sin, every kindness, every lost opportunity. And at that instant, the text raises his sword, not to attack you, but to defend what in you still belongs to Deus. Because the particular judgment is not just a contemplation of truth. It is a battle, a real battle, a battle that cannot be seen on the physical plane, but that explodes on the spiritual plane with an indescribable intensity. On one side, Archangel Miguel, your guardian angel, and all the graces you welcomed during life. On the other, demons who accompanied you, who tempted you, who recorded every unrepented sin, who now accuse you before Deus with absolute hatred. And you, the soul, are conscious of everything. You see Miguel sustaining your defense. You see the enemy exposing your sins. You see your entire life weighing in the balance of the eternal. You are not ready to see this balance, but one day it will be placed before you. And this happens while, outside, your family lays flowers, sings Natal hymns, hears readings of hope, and tries to reconcile with your absence. You see the presepio. You see the manjedoura. You see the Menino Deus. You see the symbol of mercy. But you also see the truth of justice. The soul feels that this is the moment that defines everything. This is the instant to which your entire life pointed, the unique, unrepeatable, inevitable moment. And then a final perception tears through the soul's consciousness. There is no more time. There are no more choices. There are no more opportunities. There are no more belated regrets. There are no more confessions. There are no more promises. There are no more excuses. Everything is over, and everything will be decided now. The instant of the funeral is a battlefield, literally, spiritually, and Miguel is at its center. Miguel is not a symbol. He is not a metaphor for courage. He is not a decorative church image. He is, as the liturgy proclaims, Prince of the Celestial Militia, Defender in combat, Protector of the souls of the just. And it is precisely when the body is being waked that his mission becomes most visible, not to human eyes, but to the eyes of the soul. Because while the world sees a silent ceremony, flickering candles, flowers, tears, and perhaps even natal decorations discreetly illuminating the environment, so and hell see something else, an open war. On one side, Miguel, the commander of the celestial hosts, the guardian angel of the deceased person, angels of light who accompanied every act of charity, every prayer, every true repentance. On the other, spirits of accusation, demons who accompanied that soul during life, spiritual adversaries who await this exact moment to claim what the soul voluntarily gave them through sin. And you, the soul, are at the center of this dispute. The soul sees Miguel raise his sword. It sees angels positioning themselves as sentinels. It sees demons advancing with fierce hatred, presenting sins, words spoken, opportunities rejected. They accuse, not with lies, but with truths. Because in the particular judgment, there is no theater. Everything you really wanted, everything you chose, everything you preferred over Deus weighs. Therefore, Miguel's presence is so decisive. He presents your prayers, your sacrifices, your repentances, your sincere confessions, your hidden acts of charity, your acts of faith that only Deus saw. And all this is placed on the balance. Miguel has seen billions of funerals. He knows exactly how a soul is lost, and he knows exactly what saves a soul. When the funeral happens at Christmas time, this battle intensifies. Not because Seo changes, but because the spiritual light of Natal exposes the truth with more force. At Natal, we celebrate the incarnation of the Verbo, the arrival of light into the world, Deus's initial victory against darkness, the birth of the one who will judge the living and the dead. And now, imagine this spiritual light falling upon the soul during the funeral. For many souls, this light is consolation. For others, torment. For all, revelation. Because at Natal, even death is placed before the mystery of the Incarnation. And Miguel, who appears in the Scriptures as defender in the book of Daniel and warrior in Apocalypse, now fights before the Deus made Menino, the one represented in the presepio just a few meters from your body. This contrast is so profound that the soul almost cannot bear it. The softness of the manjedoura, the harshness of judgment, the light of Natal candles, the darkness of one's own sins, the tenderness of the newborn Deus, the terrible truth of an entire life exposed. That is why, according to mystical testimonies linked to Miguel, the soul feels its own spiritual state more intensely when the funeral coincides with Natal. Because at Natal, light reveals, light purifies, light judges, light consoles. It depends on what the soul is. And Miguel, the Archangel of light, shines brighter at this moment. He hides nothing. He masks nothing. He softens nothing. He shows the soul who it really was. Not to destroy, but to defend everything that can still be saved. And then something devastating happens. The soul sees who is on its side and who is against it. It sees Miguel protecting. It sees angels contemplating with love. It sees demons advancing with hatred. And every demonic accusation is like a blow. He chose sin on this day. She rejected grace at that moment. He closed his heart to Deus so many times. She refused to forgive, refused to love. And all this is true, and the soul knows. But Miguel also responds. Here there was repentance. Here there was struggle. Here there was a sincere prayer. Here there was humility. Here there was hidden charity. And all this is also true. And the soul sees itself weighing between these two forces, one accusing, the other defending. And the world out here? The world sees only a silent wake. It sees flowers. It sees tears. It sees embraces. Perhaps it even sees fairy lights illuminating the corner of the church nave. But on the spiritual plane, on the plane that truly matters, eternal destiny is being decided. If this doesn't make you take the next wake you attend seriously, nothing else will. Now that the spiritual battle unfolds before the soul and Archangel Miguel weighs its history, something even more painful happens, something that no human being, prepared or unprepared, can face without trembling within. The soul sees the family and feels everything. It sees every face close to the coffin. It sees every tear shed. It sees every lost gaze, every silent lament, every stifled sigh. But it does not merely see. The soul feels. It feels the pain of those who loved it. It feels the longing of those who remained. It feels the real impact, and often ignored, that its attitudes caused while it was still alive. And this is one of the cruelest pains of the funeral instant. The soul perceives everything that could have been, but was not. Every hug not given, every forgiveness postponed, every reconciliation avoided, every bitter word that destroyed someone, every silence that hurt more than an insult. These are not pains imposed by Deus. They are pains imposed by truth. And Miguel, who has always been a defender of justice, does not mask this reality. He allows, by divine mission, the soul to see the consequences of the good it did and the good it failed to do. This part is so painful that many saints described it as a spiritual agony greater than any earthly suffering. And when the funeral happens at Natal, this pain multiplies. Because the soul sees the tree, the lights, the presepio, the memories of joy, the atmosphere of family reunited, the spirit of reconciliation that it perhaps never fully lived. The light of Natal reveals what was missing, and this cuts deeply. The soul perceives with brittle clarity the pain it caused in the people it loved most. And do you know what's worse? It wants to do something. It wants to ask for forgiveness. It wants to say, "I'm sorry." It wants to hug those who cry. It wants to thank those who were always by its side. But it cannot. The separation between the living and the dead is real, it is not symbolic. It tries to speak, but no one hears. It tries to touch, but no one feels. It tries to console, but no one perceives. And then comes an even deeper, almost unbearable pain. The soul desperately wishes to ask for prayer, but it cannot, because the soul knows with absolute certainty that now it needs prayers, masses, rosaries, sacrifices, intentions, fasts, charity in its name. It knows that, without this, its purification can be long, or its condemnation can be definitive. But it cannot ask. It tries, it screams, it implores, but the living do not hear it. Some souls, during the funeral, they cry out with inhuman force for help, but no one hears. Not for lack of love from those who remained, but because we are in different dimensions. What the soul screams does not reach human ears. And this is where Archangel Miguel intervenes with the authority Deus gave him. He does not allow these pleas to be lost. He takes every sincere desire of the soul before Deus. He fights for mercy to prevail where repentance still exists. He intercedes for the soul to receive prayers even if people do not consciously understand what it needs. And many times, yes, many times, it is precisely at Natal that this happens with more force. Because hearts are more sensitive, churches are fuller, families gather, people pray more. The faithful turn to Deus with more emotion. And so, when someone prays at the Natal funeral, may Deus receive him, may Nossa Senhora protect him, may San Miguel defend him. These words, sometimes said without realizing it, fall like rays of light upon the soul. Every sincere prayer is like a luminous sword delivered into Miguel's hands, and he uses this sword in the fight for the salvation of that soul. Because there, at that instant, Miguel stands before two forces, demons accusing, "He is mine, he belongs to us," and prayers rising as light, "Save him, Señor." And every prayer weighs, every intention weighs, every tear weighs. Tears have spiritual weight. When someone cries with love, Miguel collects that suffering and offers it to Deus on behalf of the soul. But there is a devastating reality. Many souls realize too late that almost no one prays for them. And this hurts more than any spiritual wound. Because the soul understands, with absolute clarity, that possessions no longer serve, fame does not matter, appearance does not matter, titles do not matter, pride is worth nothing. Nothing it accumulated accompanies it to eternity. The only thing that counts now is the prayers the living make for it, and the state in which it died. And Miguel shows this without sparing anything. He shows how the soul lived. He shows what it chose. He shows what Deus offered. He shows what it refused. He shows what it did with the life it received. And it is at this moment that the soul perceives a brutal truth. Time ran out, and what remains now is to face eternity. There is something that most people have never heard, and that becomes absolutely evident at the instant of death, when Archangel Miguel approaches. The soul does not perceive time as we perceive it. For those trapped in the body, the funeral lasts a few hours. But for the soul, freed from the limitations of matter, this same period can seem like a breath, an abyss, or an eternity. It depends on its state. Because spiritual time is not measured in minutes, but in consciousness, revelation, and pain. And Miguel sees this with absolute clarity. He knows, even before the soul knows, what is about to happen. For souls at peace, the funeral is like a gentle dawn. The soul perceives its faults, but also perceives that it chose Deus. Miguel does not need to fight as much. He merely accompanies, protects, and guides. Is there pain? Yes. Is there purification to be done? almost always. But there is hope. There is light. There is future. For these souls, Miguel is a companion, a protector, a guide. But for souls in a state of spiritual lukewarmness, pride, vanity, unrepented mortal sin, the funeral becomes a spiritual storm of indescribable proportions. And Miguel, in these cases, does not appear as consolation. He appears as judge, as defender of truth, as the one who confronts the soul with everything it chews. And this is where the most devastating moment of all arises. The soul realizes that it itself built the destiny towards which it now walks. It was not Deus who pushed it. It was not the devil who dragged it. It was the sum of thousands of small choices made throughout an entire life. And Archangel Miguel, with his sword of light, shows each one of them. Not to humiliate, not to destroy, but to reveal. Because in the particular judgment, the one that occurs immediately after death, the soul sees the entire truth. What could have been, what Deus offered, what it refused, the good it did, the good it did not do, and the consequences of all this. And then something absolutely terrifying happens. The soul realizes that it can no longer change anything. Life is over. Possibilities are over. The time for conversion has ended. There is no second chance. There is no appeal. There is no room for emotional justifications. And it is precisely at this point that hell becomes a real possibility. Not because Deus desires it, but because the soul chose it throughout its life. But the story does not end here. Because there is something that not even the demons can prevent. Something that Archangel Miguel, by divine mission, can do for a desperate soul. He calls for Maria. In the spiritual tradition of the Iglesia, especially in those linked to Miguel's mission, there is a secret that few people know. The Virgin Maria intervenes at the exact instant of death when there is any trace of love, devotion, supplication, or Marian memory in the soul. An Ave Maria prayed in childhood, a candle lit before an image, a consecration made in adolescence, a rosary prayed in the hospital, a tear shed before an image of Nossa Senhora, a simple "Maria, help me," said from the depths of despair. None of this is lost, nothing. Miguel is a witness to this. He presents these spiritual memories as arguments for defense before Deus. And when Maria approaches a soul, even a soul in tremendous darkness, she does so with a sweetness that not even all of hell can bear. That is why many demons retreat. That is why many mystical testimonies report souls saved in the last thousandth of a second. Not because they deserved it, but because there was still a thread, a single thread, that connected them to Sail. And Maria pulls this thread with force. Now imagine this happening during a funeral at Natal. The Presepio is set up. The image of Maria is there, looking at the Menino Deus. The church is illuminated. There are songs, lights, candles, symbols of hope. For many souls, this is the last opportunity for mercy. And Miguel sees this. He perceives when a soul is about to be lost. He perceives when the soul is overcome by shame, fear, guilt. He perceives when the demons begin to surround it with hatred. And it is at that instant that he raises his spiritual voice. Santa Maria, Mãe de Deus, pray for this soul, now and at the hour of its death. And Maria comes. And when she comes, even hell trembles. Because where the My steps, darkness loses territory. And many souls are snatched from the clutches of perdition at that exact moment. After all you have seen so far, the invisible battle, the exposure of truth, the pain of omissions, the weight of choices, the silent cry of the soul, the intervention of Miguel and Maria, There is a question that explodes like spiritual thunder. Why do so many souls fall into despair at the instant of the funeral? Why do so many realize too late that they are not ready? Why do so many voluntarily walk towards perdition? Because they lived as if Deus did not exist. They were not monsters, they were not murderers, they were not wicked people in the eyes of the world. And that is exactly what makes everything even more terrifying. Most souls that are lost, according to spiritual tradition under Miguel's gaze, do not fall due to great spectacular sins, but due to small, repeated, constant shadows that, over the years, cooled the heart, extinguished faith, hardened the conscience, and turned Deus into a distant idea. The enemy does not need to destroy you with a blatant mortal sin. He just needs to slowly take you out of grace until the day of death arrives, and arrives without warning. And Miguel sees this. He sees every small choice that formed the state of the soul. He sees when the person lived for pleasures. He sees when pride dominated. He sees when the person stopped praying. He sees when selfishness replaced charity. He sees when faith became an empty ritual. He sees when the person let the soul die before the body died. That is why so many souls enter into terror at the instant of the funeral. They discover that their entire life was built on sand. They discover that they prayed without faith, lived without eternal purpose, treated Deus as a spiritual accessory, postponed conversion for another time, trusted too much in their own goodness, underestimated the gravity of their choices. And Miguel, with his sword of light, reveals everything. Not to condemn, but to defend the truth. Because at the instant of death, truth is the defense, or the accusation. And there is no middle ground. Last-minute conversions exist, but they are rare, very rare. Most souls die in exactly the same spiritual state in which they lived, with the same heart, with the same habits, with the same vices, with the same dispositions. That is why the enemy works in the routine, not in the extraordinary. If he can make you live without prayer, you will die without prayer. If he can make you ignore confession, you will die without repentance. If he can make you place the world above Deus, you will die a slave to this world. And Miguel knows this. He has seen billions of souls throughout human history. He knows exactly how they are lost, and why. But there is good news. Few souls are saved, but they are saved by choice. Just as hell is a choice, cell is also a choice. Not emotional, not theoretical, but daily. The text defends those who chose to fight against their sins, to confess sincerely, to pray even without desire, to do charity without applause, to renounce pride, to truly forgive, to place Deus above all else. These souls, even if imperfect, are spiritually strong. Even if they fall 1,000 times, they rise 1,001. And at the instant of death, when Miguel appears, these souls do not fall into despair. They enter into hope. Because they know whom they loved, they know whom they served, they know whom they sought during life. Their funeral, even if at Natal, is not terror. It is passage, it is trust, it is peace. Miguel does not fight against them, he fights for them. And Maria does not approach to rescue them from perdition, but to lead them to light. Miguel, as defender of judgment, sometimes sees souls who made choices so opposed to Deus that there are no more bridges. Souls who repeatedly rejected grace, preferred sin to good, mocked Deus. The text lived in pride, closed themselves to love, never asked for forgiveness, never sought mercy. In these souls, the funeral is absolute torment. They realize too late that they wasted the only life they had. They realize that they chased smoke. They realize that nothing they accumulated served for eternity. They realize that everything they fought for died on the day of death. And when Miguel withdraws from them, not out of malice, but out of respect for the choice they made, hell approaches like an inevitable abyss. And the demons who once seduced them now receive them with absolute hatred. Some souls are lost not for lack of Deus's love, but by their own choice. Miguel does not appear merely to judge. He appears to instruct you today. He appears to say, "Choose now what will determine your destiny." He does not want to find you unprepared at the instant of death. He does not want to fight for you without weapons. He does not want to face demons with empty hands. Because what gives Miguel strength to fight for you is your prayer, your confession, your charity, your renunciation of sin, your devotion, your lived faith, your interior life, your daily conversion. It is today that you prepare for your funeral, especially if it comes at Christmas time, when the light of the Menino Deus will reveal your soul as you never imagined. Now that you know, now that you have seen what happens to the soul at the instant of the funeral, now that you have seen how Miguel fights, how the demons accuse, how Maria intervenes, how the soul suffers, how it sees the truth, there is a single question that truly matters. If your funeral were tomorrow at Christmas time, would you be preparado? Do not answer quickly. Answer with your soul. Because what Archangel Miguel revealed, what the tradition of the Iglesia teaches, what the saints testified, and what thousands of souls throughout the centuries experienced. The text all points to an inescapable fact. Eternity begins the second after your last breath. There is no interval. There is no smooth transition. There is no waiting to organize ideas. It is immediate. It is definitive. It is relentless. It is real. And Miguel will be there, with sword unsheathed, with truth exposed, with the balance of justice, with the spiritual weapons you gave him, or with empty hands if you did nothing. So now, before all this, Archangel Miguel confronts you with three questions. Are you living in a state of grace? Are you praying, or is your soul starving? Are you accumulating treasures in cell or trash on earth? Most people arrive at the funeral carrying only spiritual ashes. And when Miguel weighs these ashes, they simply disappear. What do you need to do today, now, not to be lost? Return to Deus before death returns to you. Confession destroys hell's right to accuse. Pray daily, especially the Rosario. Every Ave Maria is a sword in Miguel's hands. Practice real charity. Charity weighs more than 1,000 small sins. Abandon habitual sins. They weaken your soul on the decisive day. Make peace with those you hurt. Omissions appear with devastating force at the instant of the funeral. Live as if you were to die, but work as if you were to live eternally. To live in a state of grace is not fear, it is spiritual intelligence. At the instant of your funeral, whether on an ordinary morning or in the sacred time of Natal, illuminated by candles and presapios, the entire truth of your life will rise before you. And Miguel the Arcangel will raise his sword and ask Deus, "Señor, did this soul choose you?" And Deus, who never lies, who never errs, who never distorts your freedom, will answer, with a single glance. That answer will be your eternity. Now go back to the comments and answer before Deus and before San Miguel. After all this, would you still write preparado? Or has the truth pierced you and you understand that you need to change your life, today, now, before it is too late? Write in the comments, preparado or despreparado. And if this video spoke to you, share it with someone you love. perhaps it is exactly the warning that person's soul needs before it is too late.